Hello everyone, we are here in Zandvoort. It's the third race weekend of the brand new DTM season. We're psyched to be here in Zandvoort because we love it. It's a racetrack right at the beach, embedded into the beautiful dunes, which also means that of course it's pretty tricky because when it's windy all the sand flies over onto the track. That means little grip, and also at the moment it's raining. As we can see, it's pretty wet, it's very cloudy, and it's definitely a wet qualifying. We'll see what the day brings then, but it's going to be very exciting and very wet. Looking forward to that. And now the leader of the championship is Lucky Hour, and yeah, he's 6 points ahead of Jules Gournon. We can see him standing there in the back getting ready, focusing, obviously psyched for the qualifying, because Lucky knows, just as everybody else here, all the drivers know, every single point counts when it comes to accumulating all the points in regards to winning the championship. But of course, till then it's a long way to go, but we are psyched for the qualifying in the wet. We're going to see a lot of slipping and sliding there, and looking forward to hearing from the commentators. So let's do it.
Thanks, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a wet Zandvoort for the first qualifying session, kind of the weekend. I say kind of because we've already had qualifying too. We're running out of kilter this weekend. The reason is that two of the drivers in the DTM, Jack Aitken and Jules Gournon, are headed to Le Mans for testing, which means qualifying for Sunday's race happened yesterday. Let's have a look at the circuit before we get into all of that, though. We've had DTM racing here since 2001. There's a bit of a gap, and then we came back to the circuit 2 years ago. We had 4 different winners from the 4 races here so far in the GT3 era. Marco Wittmann had a sensational drive with a car that was falling apart last year, from 14th on the grid to pick up his first win at the circuit in 9 years. His previous win having come here in 2015. There was smoke coming from the car, there was bodywork hanging off, but the German bravely kept his footing, kept on driving, and the car somehow held together, and he took a win for Torsten Schubert's team here at this circuit. And it was a good day yesterday in qualifying too for Sunday's race, because Marco Wittmann, third on the grid for Sunday's race. His teammate René Rast, even better, pole position for René after yesterday afternoon's qualifying 2 session, and that was a record-breaking attempt as well, because it now means René Rast is the driver with the most pole positions in the history of DTM, overtaking the legendary Bernd Schneider. So we're here for qualifying 1. It's a normal day today in terms of the timetable. This will set the grid for race 1. Race 1 will start at 1:30 p.m. local time. Tomorrow, because qualifying is already done and because those 2 drivers are off to Le Mans for testing, there's nothing happening in the morning, and the race itself is late, starting at 4:30 rather than 1:30, because they've got to give time for those drivers to get on a private jet and get back from a lunchtime test from Le Mans to Zandvoort. There then is Nicky Tim. Had a bad day yesterday in qualifying too. They just couldn't figure out where the pace was lacking, and he was down the tail end of the grid in qualifying in the Abt Lamborghini, ending up 22nd overall, and his teammate Mirko Bortolotti not much higher up. Before we get into all of that, though, here's Verena back down in the pit lane.
And I'm here with Martin Tomczyk from Abt. And yeah, obviously we got a delay, so we can enjoy standing here in the rain a little bit, Martin. We have all the time in the world. No, just kidding. But in regards to the rain, obviously, and the weather, what do you think can we expect out there on the track? I mean, it's going to be pretty slippery, and that's for sure.
Yes, we already saw in the previous sessions that we had some interruptions and red flags. Obviously, it's tough for the drivers, because yesterday it was dry throughout the whole day, and now they just go into qualifying, obviously, with having no idea, more or less, of the conditions out there. And obviously in 20 minutes, approximately 11 to 12 laps, what they have to set their time. It's getting tricky and tough out there, but we are looking forward, because obviously we struggled a little yesterday with our performance. So trying to see what's going on now in the rain.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, but hopefully also, obviously, it also regards to the race later on. It's always about fair racing. I mean, so far we've seen that, so is that what you're expecting as well?
Well, I hope so. I mean, in Zandvoort we saw that the starting position is quite crucial, because it's very difficult to overtake here. Our weather forecast predicts as well slight rain in the race, so perhaps it's quite cool for the spectators at the end of the day.
It's going to be exciting. All right, well, off you go into your little rooftop here, probably. It's wet, isn't it?
Yeah, but the shelf is dry in there.
That's good. All right, Martin, thank you so much. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. He could invite you in, couldn't he? So you stay dry as well. Martin Tomczyk, the team principal of Abt there at the 2011 DTM champion as a driver himself. And he had 5 podiums at this circuit, so had a pretty good rapport with the Dutch circuit when he was driving. He also took his first victory as a team principal here 2 years ago in 2023 when Ricardo Feller won in the Audi from pole position. But Abt struggling, as I say, with Nicky Tim's car in qualifying 2 yesterday in particular. Mirko Bortolotti qualified 16th as well, promoted to 15th after Ricardo Feller received a penalty for a Parc Fermé infringement. But he barely got any laps at all in free practice 2 after a puncture. And also then had a problem with the fan belt in his Lamborghini in qualifying, which meant that just as he was about to go on his hot run, the car stopped, ran out of power, and that is why the reigning champion is all the way back 15th on the grid. While we're waiting for the session to get underway, back to Verena.
And I'm here with one of the local matadors, Maurice Schoring from the Netherlands. You live around the corner here, just an hour away from Amsterdam. So we're excited to have you here. Now, obviously, it's not the greatest start because we've got a little delay. We've got bad weather. So what are you expecting for the qualifying?
Well, I think it will be really exciting. It's proper Dutch weather at the moment. You know, we're just in the first weekend of June and still we have rain. I think as a local driver, it's never a disadvantage, but still you have to perform when it matters, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, we're looking forward to it as well, and I love Zandvoort, embedded into the dunes. Is it one of your favorite tracks, not only because it's in your homeland?
Yeah, I think it's really cool, especially with the high elevation. It's always something special. The sand makes it tricky, so all drivers have a proper challenge here.
Now, you're a rookie in the DTM. You seem all relaxed and all chilled. Is that your kind of mentality? Are you always more like on the calm side and all cool?
I think I perform best when I'm calm, so therefore I'm just trying to stay relaxed and I enjoy it.
Fantastic. Best of luck for the qualifying, Maurice. Thank you. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, Maurice Schoring there, who got his first DTM points last time at the Lausitz Ring, as did young Tom Callender. He got promoted to 15th place and a championship point after penalties applied to the man you're looking at on screen, Ben Durr. He had 3 runs through the penalty box in the race and then did them out of sync and got another 30-second penalty slapped on at the end of the race, which was what promoted a few drivers up the order, including Tom Callender. So the session getting underway in 7 minutes' time. Verena Vries is down there in the pit lane and up here in the commentary box at the circuit. Me, Chris Hartley, and alongside me, it's good morning to Brian Oliver.
Morning, Chris. Morning, everybody from wherever you are watching us around the world. I hope the weather's good where you are, because it isn't here. I didn't really need to bother packing my shorts and T-shirt coming to the seaside. It has been hammering it down with rain. We've had a Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux qualifying session, which was very entertaining if you enjoy rallycross, because they spent a lot of time in the gravel, dragging it onto the track, which is why we've got a delay while they clean the track up.
Meanwhile, Verena has found somebody else to have a chat with.
Yes, and I found Ricardo Feller about to get started, hopefully. What is it like for a driver when obviously you just want to go out there and get qualifying and then unfortunately there's a delay because of the rain and everything? How does that feel?
Well, it's not too dramatic. You're getting used to it. It's normal. I mean, there was some red flags in the session before. There's nothing we can do. So we just wait and look a bit what the weather does. A bit unsure if there's more rain coming or less, but we'll find out soon.
Right, I promised only to ask one question, so thank you so much, Ricardo, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, Ricardo, yesterday we had the opposite. We had the threat of rain and a little bit of tiny amount of rain at the start of the qualifying session. So Ricardo Feller, Ben Green went out as well. Ben actually went out on wet tyres, and Max Powell was the other driver that went out early in the hope that they could set a lap time. And then it would rain, and then they'd end up being in the top 3, but it didn't happen. The rain never quite materialised that was meant to come, and they slipped down the order, and then Ricardo got that penalty, so he's going to start tomorrow's race at the very back of the field, unfortunately. Race winner here, as I said, 2 years ago. Now, we're interested to find out what the conditions are going to be like, because the rain, looking at the commentary box window, has been pretty consistent and steady, so at least they know it's going to be wet. It's not going to be a damp or drying track, so it looks like it's going to be consistent. We've just had, in the previous session, the Porsches, a red flag and lots of cars going off the road. But in the session before that, in qualifying, GT Masters qualifying, very similar cars to these. Then I spoke to a couple of drivers after that qualifying session. They said, do you know what? Surprisingly grippy out there in the wet. It was much grippier than we thought it was going to be. So make of that what you will, Brian.
Yeah, well, the conclusion is nobody knows. Our sound technician, Uli, came in and he said, right, I need to know who's going to be on pole position for this race. And we went through the entire grid and we were like, actually, the conclusion, we really don't know. It always seems to be the way. I mean, yesterday we said, oh, they're all going to be out on track early because the rain's coming in and it's going to be busy. But they all did their installation lap and then sat in the pits for 15 minutes as per normal. If you're a good meteorologist, you'd really earn some money with these teams because it's all about predicting the weather. Is it going to be busy? Are you going to roll the dice early, get out, get a banker lap in, get your time on the board because it could potentially get wetter? Or is the rain going to diminish and is the track going to get faster? If we had a crystal ball, that might help. But at the moment, all we can do is look to the skies. I can see little bright patches, but I can also see rain coming down. It's anybody's guess what the next 20 minutes, 23 minutes is going to be like. Is it going to be busy at the start or is it going to dry out and get quicker at the end? Well, we'll find out, but it's another one of those days where we could end up with a very unusual grid.
Yeah, we certainly had, even in the dry last year, we had a mixed up qualifying. So last year on the Saturday, qualifying one, Jack Aitken was quickest on pole position in the Ferrari. Second quickest, having previously qualified no higher than 11th, was the McLaren of Clement Schmidt. He was on the front row of the grid last year in the Doha Motorsport McLaren, the same car which has been driven now by Timo Glock for this season. And Arjun Maini was third on the grid in his Mercedes, his HRT Mercedes. Of course, he's still with HRT, but they ran the Ford Mustangs this season. And then for the grid for race 2, pole position, we have Max Powell, who you saw on shot about 30, 40 seconds ago. Max Powell on pole position here is Maiden, his only pole position in the championship so far. Second on the grid was Mirko Bortolotti. It was a Lamborghini 1-2. And third on the grid was Thierry Vermeulen in the Ferrari. There's René Rast, who was on pole position yesterday in qualifying 2, running 2 days ahead of schedule for reasons that we've explained. So a record breaker now in terms of pole positions. And the Achilles heel, the real struggle with that car, the BMW, for the last season and a bit has been qualifying. They've never been able to get in dry conditions, the heat into the tyres quickly enough. And all of them were last year averaging in the middle of the grid, 13th or lower. The 3 drivers that we had last year, René Rast, Marco Wittmann and Sheldon van der Linde. It was the same issue really at Oschersleben. Then much better qualifying at the Lausitz ring, and René Rast goes and gets 2 podiums on the front row of the grid for the first time for 4 years is Marco Wittmann. But René Rast was saying, well, that was because the European Truck Racing Championship was there. They were laying loads of rubber down. It was really grippy. Our BMW likes grippy conditions. But then yesterday, if you thought that was a one-off, it was windy. It wasn't particularly warm. I wouldn't say it was that grippy. Yet the BMWs were up there again, and pole position and third. So tremendous qualifying for the Schubert pairing, and it does seem that they've resolved that problem. But that might bring with it some issues in the race, because at Lausitz ring in race 2, René Rast was really struggling with his tyres for the last 10 minutes of the race, wasn't he?
And René Rast, he said, well, we'd love to have the trucks on at every round, really, because the mixture of rubber on the track, as you said, did add to the grip for the BMW. Interestingly, we were talking to Milan Marchak, one of the up-and-coming superstars in Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux yesterday, and he said he felt as though the grip was being affected. They run on a different brand of rubber to what DTM runs on, and he felt as though the mixture of rubber was affecting the level of grip of the cars. Because they'd tested here a few weeks ago in the Porsches, and it was completely different. And it's when you've got 2 different brands. Let's hear team radio quickly from Gilles.
Weather forecast update for rain for the next half an hour.
Okay, so not look like it's going to dry up anytime soon. But yeah, it's interesting when you have 2 different brands of rubber laying, 2 different tyres, manufacturers laying rubber on the track, and it does affect the grip. And I'm wondering whether that is another factor that helps the BMWs.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Abt about this yesterday, and you go testing, like as a test at the Lausitz-Ring, a private test at the Lausitz-Ring, sunny, warm day, Mirko Bortolotti goes quickest. They think, great, we've sorted the car out. They don't touch the car, they don't change it. They touch the car, they strip it down all the time, but they don't change the settings at all. They go back to the Lausitz-Ring for the race weekend a couple of weeks later, and the car's all over the place. And it can be the weather, it can be, like you say, the rubber that's on the track, what the track temperature is like. It can be things like, you know, if you had good weather and it's a nice day, but you've had rain the day before, it's washed a lot of the rubber away. It's a living, breathing thing, a racetrack, and you can't just bolt one setup on and think it's going to work every time. These engineers are constantly having to adapt and check and look at the feedback and go through data all the time. And of course, all of the data they've built up over the last 2 days on a dry, windy track out of the window now because it's raining, and it's going to be a surprise for everybody. Just to recap then, as qualifying gets underway, the championship leader, as Verena said, is Lucas Auer. 2 wins out of 4 so far. Both of his wins have come on a Saturday, and he's got 69 points in the championship. Jules Gounon has had great consistency in his first full season of DTM. A second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. 63 points, second in the championship, 6 points behind Lucas Auer. Then it is Jordan Pepper in the TGI Lamborghini team by GRT Hurricane, 55 points. A second and 2 fourths and an 11th for the South African. He was looking good in free practice here yesterday, but in free practice too, he had a puncture as well, like Mirko Bortolotti, but at a pretty nasty place at the top of the hill at a Rob Slottermacher turn 6 over the crest. The tyre, he said, gave him no warning whatsoever. It wasn't a slow puncture, it just went. None of the sensors gave him any warning. It went at 230 kilometres an hour, and he was pitched into the gravel trap at turn 7, which he said used to be his favourite corner, but he's not so sure now. But he was one of the drivers that didn't get any running on a new tyre, because you get to use one set of new tyres in free practice. Mirko Bortolotti the other. So if we get to a dry race later on, then they've only got that qualifying run on the track, which wasn't ideal to get any data from, which could be a bit of a hindrance. Then fourth in the championship is Maro Engel, 52 points. He's had 2 podiums as well, points in all the races. Jack Aitken was the winner last time out at the Lausitz-Ring, and also picked up 2 championship points for qualifying second yesterday. So he is now 5th in the championship on 51 points. René Rast got 3 points for qualifying on pole yesterday for Sunday's race, and he's now on 50 points and 6th in the championship table. And to remind you, 3 points for qualifying on pole, 2 points for qualifying second, and a point for qualifying third. And they can really add up at the end of a season, Brian. We've seen drivers in the last 2 years pick up the equivalent of a free 4th or even 3rd place finish with the amount of points they've scored over the season in qualifying.
Well, when you think there's nearly 50 points available for the pole positions across the season, that is very considerable indeed. And so this session is important, not just for the points they're going to pick up, but of course the all-important grid positions. They need to be at the front end of the grid to score meaningful points in the race later on today. Well, you can see, unlike what we have become accustomed to in DTM this year, none of this doing one installation lap. Oh, there's a moment. That's Jordan Pepper and Jack Aitken getting under each other's feet, and I wonder whether that might get looked at by the stewards. Pepper just moving across just as Aitken's coming past. He had to get on the brakes there a little bit, backed out of it. Fortunately, they didn't make any contact. But as I was about to say, unlike what we've become accustomed to this year, we've got the cars out on track. They're all on wet weather tyres at the moment, as you would expect. So getting out there, generating the heat. And I think there might be a lot of cars that are going to be out for the whole of this session.
So Jordan Pepper was backing up and then pulled the trigger. So he's about to go into a flying lap. He's done the absolute best first sector, but Ricardo Feller had done the absolute best second sector, the middle sector, until Luca Exler went through. And Luca, 2-time winner last year, now the absolute best in the second sector. That now is destroyed by Jordan Pepper, who's gone through the end of sector 2. And he's gone absolute best in that one as well. So sector 1 takes in the runs through turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 at the top of the hill. They go over the crest. That's the end of sector 1. The middle is sector 2, turn 7 through to 10. And then just before the chicane at turn 11, that's where sector 3, the final sector, starts. So divide the lap into 3. We can see where their progress is at. A purple sector time means it's an absolute best, a green a personal best. It's going to change all the time. Jordan Pepper goes quickest for now. 1 minute 43.616 seconds. Jules Gounon is just about 4 tenths behind with a 1:43.9. Luca Exler third with a 1:44. 144.1. Jerry Vermeulen through the chicane, just hooking up a wheel onto the gravel and tipped into a spin. So that was at the chicane. He got the Ferrari tipped around pretty quickly. But having said, I spoke to the GT Masters drivers and they said it was grippy everywhere. They said the one place it wasn't that grippy was, guess where? That chicane. That was the one tricky part. One of the slowest sections on the lap, but still very tricky. We walked around the track last night. It's actually quite a dip off the exit to that chicane, isn't there? There's quite a lot of banking and undulation there, which you don't necessarily see on the TV pictures.
There's a lot of banking all around this circuit, actually. A lot that you don't see on the TV pictures, not just turns 3, turns 14. Mauro Engel, quickest to anybody in Sector 1. He always shines in the wet, so to speak. Up onto the banking he comes. It's a brave man who keeps his foot buried on it in these conditions. Out of 13 and 14, out onto the pit straight, full beans. He's going to stop the clock, and it is a fastest time, a 1:42.687. So the first into the 42s. We don't really have a benchmark wet weather time for qualifying at the moment, so we're a little bit in no man's territory. But look at Jules Gounon, always quick wherever he goes. 2 personal bests, out across the line he comes. He stops the clock, and it's a 1:42.854. So that's up into P2.
Mercedes first and second. For what it's worth, the Mercedes was on pole in the GT Masters qualifying session as well. Janis Fitcher, I spoke to him and I said, what about the banking? What's that like in the wet? And he said, still easy flat out. So there you go. Through that banking at over 200 kilometres an hour. Now, how about this for a recovery? Thierry Vermeulen going through the same corner where he lost it. Ends Sector 2, and he's now absolute best in the middle sector. He had a good 4th place finish here last year, had a podium at the Saxon Ring. Should have been a win, really. Mauro Engel has gone absolute best in the first sector, trying to improve upon his own best lap of the session so far. Engel, Gounon and Feller of the top 3 as it stands. Where is Vermeulen going to get into this? The Dutchman comes through, goes 3rd quickest, 1:42.866. Mauro Engel, though, is the next one to watch, isn't he? He's in the middle of the lap. He's done an absolute best first sector. Here he is, 36.6 through the second sector, though. He's lost about 2.5 tenths through that middle sector, so he needs a good 3rd sector, and that was a bit wobbly through the curve, wasn't it, on the exit to the chicane.
You can see how hard he was fighting it, just trying to keep the car pointing in the right direction. He's right on the edge of adhesion here. You can see the line on the track where the other cars are running, nowhere near a dry line. He goes up high on the banking, out onto the pit straight. It was a best of anybody in Sector 1, not so good in Sector 2. Where's it going to be now? And it is a 1:42.686 for Mauro Engel.
And Gouon's on a really good lap as well. Personal best first sector. Absolute best second sector. The Turkish driver, race winner, Ados Slaven, comes through and goes on to provisional pole position. 1:42.628 seconds. There he is in the green Manthey EMA Porsche. A good effort, that, a really good effort. He's 58 thousandths of a second clear of Mauro Engel, who's provisionally second on the grid. Maurice Schuring, who's just right in front there of his teammate in the junior Manthey car. He's 3rd quickest in only his 3rd weekend of DTM. Jules Gounon is 4th. Thierry Vermeulen is 5th. Lucas Au, the championship leader, is 6th. Mirko Bortolotti had a nightmare day yesterday. He's 7th. Luca Engstler is 8th. And then also in the top 10, we've got Jack Aitken now up to 8th place. He's just got ahead of Bortolotti and Engstler. Now, René Rast. Now, we had the threat of rain on the Sunday at the Lausitz Ring. It never quite materialised in the end. It rained after the race, but it never rained during it. But I remember distinctly Verena speaking to René Rast on the grid, Brian, and she said, what about the rain? He said, I hope it doesn't rain, because our BMW does not like the wet weather conditions, and the BMWs are not doing great at the moment, are they? René has just gone up to 15th place. Bearing in mind he was on pole yesterday. Wittmann, his teammate, was 3rd in the dry yesterday. He's back in 17th in the wet.
Meanwhile, Jules Gounon in the Mercedes had done a personal best in Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2. Ian Nguyen, once again, he's a man who's very dialed in, looking very punchy here, but he's in amongst traffic at the moment. I don't know if that's going to slow him down a little, but you can see purple in Sector 2. Now Jordan Pepper, the quickest of anybody in Sector 1, the quickest of anybody overall, 1:42.194. We could well be into the 1:41s before too long. So Pepper, he's on a good run here at the moment. Out of Sector 1, Ian Nguyen crosses the line, remains in second, a 1:42.425 for him.
Gunon's on a good lap as well, no purples, but he's done 2 personal bests. He comes through over the line now, 6th quickest, 7/10 adrift. Pepper on provisional pole with a 1:42.194, 2/10 clear of Guen, who's never had a pole. Engel is in the pits in 3rd, and then 4th is Preining with his best lap, his first proper lap really so far. The 2023 champion Thomas Preining never had a win here at Zandvoort in the DTM. He's their 4th quickest. Skuring is down to 5th, Gunon 6th, Vella in 7th, Vermeulen 8th, Aaron Aitken both in the pits on 9th and 10th. Max Powell is 11th, Luca Engstler 12th, Mirko Bortolotti was 7th about 2 minutes ago. He's 13th now. Gilles Magnus is equaling his best qualifying so far in the Aston Martin. He's 14th, like he was at the Lausitz ring. Ben Green in the pits is 15th, Marco Wittmann 16th, René Rast 17th. So the BMWs, as René said they might, struggling in the wet. Nicky Tim 18th, Ben Dern 19th. Had another great qualifying in the dry yesterday. Benny was in the top 6. Tom Callender has just popped himself up to 18th. So Tim is down to 19th, Dern to 20th. The 2 Mustangs to 21st and 22nd. Timo Glock. So you've got Miney 21st, Scherer 22nd, Timo Glock into the pits 23rd, and Nicola Bart 24th in the other Aston Martin. On board now with Maurice Skuring.
Okay, mate, you're doing well, you're doing well. Watch what Chan is doing. Try to copy Chan. He's very quick, but you're doing all right.
Chan, I guess it's Ian Chan.
Yeah, Jan's his nickname, yeah.
Great.
For short, Jan. So following his more experienced teammate around here and being encouraged by his race engineer.
Quite rightly, doing a great job is Maurice Skuring, up to P3 now. So local boy does good. Out on the pit straight, actually the sun is starting to poke through. This is not over yet. If the weather stays as it is, the track may start to dry out. We might start to get some quicker times. You can see Jordan Pepper into the pits. Still got wets they're trying to put on. Rather amusingly, he's right next to Jack Aitken as well in the pits. Those two are going to be glued together all weekend, aren't they?
Incidentally, I spoke to Maurice Skuring yesterday. He said, who's your race engineer this year? He said, well, actually, my normal race engineer, I haven't got this weekend because he's on Le Mans duty. So his race engineer for the weekend, and he said, this is big pressure for me, is the team manager, Patrick Arkenau. That's the voice that you heard on the radio encouraging him. Keep up with your teammate. He said, Guen goes wide and onto the grass, and it was such a shame because he'd started the lap brilliantly with the absolute best first sector, but Guen there just losing it onto the grass through the middle sector. That was through turn 8, and that's all of his time lost now. So Skuring goes ahead of him. He's got Preining behind as well. The Porsches are all kind of running in formation. So that's a shame because that was looking like a good lap. Might have been the chance to get himself onto pole position. Let's have a replay. Just drifted wide, just understeered and went short the curb, Brian. That's super wet. And then the grass is really, really wet. We had dry sessions yesterday, but overnight on Thursday, there was a load of rain. Absolutely tipped it down from about 9:30 at night till about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So that grass is really wet.
Yeah, it's holding an awful lot of water there. It was quite muddy yesterday, as you say. You saw a graphic pop up on your screen just now. 2 drivers under investigation for an infringement in Parc Fermé. That's Jack Aitken and Thierry Vermeulen. Yesterday, we heard already, Ricardo Feller had an infringement in Parc Fermé and ended up going to the back of the pack for race 2. So hopefully no such problems for Thierry Vermeulen and for Jack Aitken, but clearly there's been some issue there in their pit stop when they came into the pits as Maurice Skuring comes in for his stop. So another set of wet tyres are going on to the number 92 car. Currently in 3rd place. The benchmark that they're all aiming at is Jordan Pepper, 142.194. So Maurice Skuring, who drops down to 4th now because Mauro Engel's just popped up in 3rd, is about 4.5 tenths down from Jordan Pepper's time.
Like a race, this, isn't it? Pit stops in the middle of it.
Great.
6 minutes, 41 seconds to go. Skuring heads back out behind Jan, his teammate, Andrew Guen. There's Ben Green in one of the 3 Ferrari 296s that the Emil Frey squad, the Swiss squad, run now. His teammates, more experienced in terms of DTM teammates, Jack Aitken and Thierry Vermeulen in the other 2. Pole positions this year, Lucas Auer's had 2. We've had 1 for Jack Aitken and we've had 1 for Jules Gounon. They've all been, of course, though, in the dry, the qualifying sessions so far this year. Jordan Pepper, it's his first season of the championship. He had a guest outing at the Sachsenring last year, but he's been going very well in qualifying at Oschersleben. He was on the front row of the grid twice at Oschersleben, 2nd for both of the races there. Qualifying not so good at the Lausitz ring, though, where the Lamborghini struggled a bit.
Will be a minimum of 3 push, possible 4.
So that's the thing with the wet tyres, you get more and more laps to push, don't you, rather than slicks, where you get 2, maybe 3 laps, and that's all you get out of them. With the wets, and with that rain easing a bit, and maybe a bit less surface water, there's still chances to improve, Brian.
Was it Bernie Eccleston who once said we should water the track for dry sessions as well to make it more entertaining? It's certainly entertaining here. None of this sitting around watching the grass grow. It has been action all the way. We've still got another 5 minutes for it all to change. I think the track is drying out a little. I can't see any rain coming down now, and some of the windscreen wipers are stopping on the cars, so could get quicker still. Finding some space on the track, keeping the heat in the tyres. A lot to think about for the teams with 5 minutes remaining.
A couple of movers up the order. Thomas Preining has gone 3rd, so 2 Porsches in the top 3, Guin and Preining, and Lucas Auer, the championship leader, has gone up to 6th, and he's just done a personal best through the 2nd sector as well. Dropped a bit of time, though, through the middle sector. Here is Lugi now, the Austrian, losing 0.3 of a second through the middle sector. Can he get any of that back through the final sector? Maro Engel has come into the pits, so he's leaving it late to go out again and try and get another lap, but he might be able to do so. So where is this going to put Lucas Auer? He puts him 3rd quickest. It was a good final sector. So just the middle where he lost 0.3 of a second. And that's all of his time, really, because he's only 2.5 of a second down on Pepper over the whole lap. So he's better at the start and the end of the lap than the Lamborghini, but worse in the middle of the lap. As we go on board now with 2023 Zandvoort winner from pole position in the dry that year, Ricardo Feller. He's at the back of the grid for Sunday's race. Can he be at the opposite end of the grid for Saturday's race?
Well, 8th is where he was before he started this lap, but as you can see, he's done personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2, so through the chicane he comes. Heading out towards turn 13, he'll get his foot flat on it, he'll take his brave pills, and here we go, and a bit of a slider into turn 13, up to 14, but he doesn't back out of it. He would have lost some valuable time there, but out across the pit straight he comes. This is surely going to be improvement on P8, is it? He stops the clock, and it's P2 for the Audi. Brilliant stuff from Ricardo Feller.
Ricardo Feller, the Swiss drift champion, all the way on the curb, sideways in the Audi. That was fantastic, wasn't it? But here comes Luca Engstler now. 2 personal bests for him, so he's trying to get back up the order. He was up there in the top 5 earlier on in the session. He's down to 12th place at the moment. He's about a 10th down through the 1st sector on the absolute best, and he's matching the middle sector more or less. So this is going to be a really good lap. It's going to rocket him up the order as long as this last sector is good. He should be knocking on the door of the top 3, top 4 with this. Let's have a look as he held it together. Luca Engstler comes through, goes 2nd quickest, almost on pole. 1:42.211, only 17 thousandths of a second behind his teammate at Grasser, Jordan Pepper. So it's a Grasser 1-2 at the moment. Ricardo Feller in the Land Audi made 3rd place. Then it's the Porsche of Guin 4th, the Mercedes of Auer 5th, the Mercedes of Guinon is in the pits in 6th. Engel's gone back out incidentally to try and get 1 or 2 more laps in. Preining is 7th, Engel is 8th, Bortolotti is 9th, and Skuring is 10th.
We've got every car out on track with the exception of Jules Guinon. Ricardo Feller will be thinking about that slide he had in turn 13 and wondering if that might have made all the difference. Thomas Preining, I know you coming into this session, you thought he might be good for a pole position in the wet. Out of turn 14 he comes out onto the pit straight, so it's Thomas Preining who's going to cross the line for the 91 car, and it's a P6, 1:42.480.
You can see to the left of the picture, Jules Guinon is heading back out as well with 2 minutes to go, so he's going to get another lap in by the looks of it. He'll have 1 crack at it, Jules Guinon, the driver 2nd in the championship. He currently 7th on the grid. He'll be actually directly behind Lucas Auer if it stays like this, because Lucas is 5th on the grid. So the top 2 in the championship are going to be almost super glued together. Maro Engel then back out, trying to get 1 more good lap in. He's in 8th place at the moment. Was only half a second covering the top 9 in this session. Bortolotti has improved. He was up tonight. Tom Callender has just popped himself up tonight now, the 17-year-old. He's looked pretty good in the wet and the dry here this weekend. He was in the top 10 in free practice 2 yesterday. So Callender going well. Mercedes all going well. They are 5th, 7th, 8th and 9th, the 4 Mercedes. Maro Engel is also on his best lap so far with personal best in sectors 1 and 2. He'll get 1 more lap out of this as well because he'll cross the line with about a minute left on the clock. So he comes now out of the banking absolutely flat out in the dry. That's over 200 kilometres an hour. They get up to 260 kilometres an hour by the time they reach the end of the straight. Engel goes onto the front row of the grid and almost gets pole. 8 thousandths of a second away from pole position. Jordan Pepper is clinging on by his fingertips here.
Unbelievable stuff. Riding on board with Ricardo Feller. So he's in 4th at the moment. He's done a personal best in Sector 2. Sector 1 was not anything that lit up the screens. He's into the final sector now, still fighting the car. You can see the front switching around, under braking through the chicane. Just ahead of him is Jordan Pepper. So I hope that Pepper gets out of the way. You can see him up ahead of him into turn 13. He will come in the Audi. Out across the line he will come in just a few moments. So P4 is where he was at. Is this going to be an improvement? That first sector might let him down. Across the line comes Ricardo Feller, and he remains in 4th place.
As it stands, 0.08 of a second is the equal second closest qualifying gap we've had in the GT3 era. The closest gap between the top two was at the Lausitzring last year. Kelvin van der Linde, Thomas Preining, just 0.06 of a second between them. This one is almost as close. 0.08 between Pepper and Engel. It's not over yet either. But it is for Bortolotti. He bails the lap, ends up into the pits, and 10th place. Better than yesterday, but not where he wants to be as yet. Moritz Skuring's on a good lap. Look, 2 personal bests for the young Dutch driver. So he's about to come through, and he goes 7th quickest. Maro Engel, 2nd quickest after that last lap as well. But on this lap, he's down in both sectors, so that looks like his run has come to an end, and it looks like Pepper is going to cling on to this. The flag is out. Most of the front runners are through. You've got Engel out there as his nearest rival, but he's not flying on this lap. Engstler, who's gone 3rd quickest in this session, he's in the pits as well. Ricardo Feller doesn't look like he's on a flyer looking at the first sector either. So I think we've got Jordan Pepper on pole position for the first time in his career, and it's only taken him 4 race weekends. He's here for the championship title. He may be a newcomer, but he's a vastly experienced GT racer, and he'll be delighted to be on pole position. There he is to the left of your picture. There's Ricardo Feller, who looks like he's going to line up 4th on the grid. But with a 1:42.194, there's your pole man.
To the first pole position in DTM, mate.
Without
Yes, mate. Yes, you just looked at P3. I thought I was behind. Yes, boys.
But if you'd mentioned to him when he was in the gravel trap after that puncture yesterday in free practice, you'll be on pole tomorrow. Don't worry about it. He would have believed you.
I would just say, hold it lightly. He is under investigation for alleged impeding of Jack Aitken at the beginning of the session. So hopefully there'll be nothing that will come from that. But the stewards are still taking a look at that one. But Jordan Pepper, what a great job from him. And what a great qualifying session that was. That was 20 minutes of pure entertainment.
Fantastic. Jordan Pepper then, who's already been on the front row of the grid twice in his first season in the championship. Now a pole sitter in the DTM. And I'm just going to bring this stat to your attention. We've had 99 different race winners in the history of the DTM. 99 different drivers have won. We get a new winner today, and that could be Jordan Pepper, who's never won in the DTM. That'll be the 100th DTM race winner. No pressure, Jordan. 1:42.194. Maro Engel misses out by a whisker, by 0.08 of a second, the equal second closest ever qualifying in this GT3 era of the DTM. Luca Engstler, an excellent 3rd. Ricardo Feller, 4th, much better than yesterday. Guwen in 5th, Auer in 6th, Skuring is best in 7th, Preining 8th, Gunon 9th, and Calendar an excellent 10th as well. Mirko Bortolotti, the reigning champion, 11th. Thierry Vermeulen on his home nation circuit, 12th. Max Powell, who was on pole here in the dry last year, 13th. Jack Aitken, winner and pole sitter last time out at the Lausitzring. And of course, as the winner, have to carry ballast in the race. He's back in the middle of the grid, 14th. Gilles Magnus, 15th. Nicky Tim, 16th. Ben Green, 17th. René Rast, pole position in the dry yesterday for Sunday's race, 18th on the grid. With Ben Durr 19th and Marco Wittmann 20th. There's 3 drivers that were in the top 6 yesterday in the dry, Rast, Durr and Wittmann, who are now 18th, 19th and 20th. Super slow-mos then of your top 3. Luca Engstler with a mega effort, 3rd place. How far was he off? 0.17 of a second away from pole position, but you're 3rd on the grid. DTM is brutal, isn't it? Maro Engel 2nd, and only 0.08 of a second away. Not even a blink of an eye that away from pole position, but a great effort from him and a much better qualifying than yesterday. But our first pole sitter in his DTM career, a maiden pole position for Jordan Pepper. That's it from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, in the commentary box. We can now go down to the pit lane to Verena.
thanks to the commentators. So congratulations, Jordan Pepper, your maiden pole position in the DTM. You were sitting in the car. We could just see you being very psyched. So you've got to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, it's emotional for sure. I mean, we had a strong Ausschließen, of course, and then since then it's been quite tricky. We just lack pace as a brand in a hole. And waking up this morning, opening the window, seeing the rain, you know, it always brings an opportunity, and I have to say a big thank you to my whole team. They gave us the perfect car. I mean, Luca P3, me P1. It's just a dream day in the wet here in Zandvoort. Yeah, it's days like this that brings a little bit of change. That's what you need in this championship. And yeah, we did the first bit, but it's important now to capitalize in the race for sure.
Absolutely. Congratulations again, and best of luck for the race, Jordan. So it's definitely going to be a very exciting race in just a bit here in windy and wet Zandvoort. So let's see what the race will bring. Don't miss it. So see you later. Here are the highlights. Enjoy.
I think I can congrats you to the first pole position in DTM race.